Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dockside at the Bay. I am Vinnie. This is Kim.
Hello, everybody.
If you're watching this Tuesday night, that means you are a patron of our Patreon, patreon.com
And
slash Suds.
thank you very much for that.
Yes, absolutely. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify or listening on Apple Podcasts and anywhere else, that means you're not a patron. You got to go sign up. Patreon.com slash squared circle. Um, if you're just interested in buying us a coffee, go to buymeacoffee.com slash Suds Media. However, we are here. This is the first episode that we're doing as pre-recorded instead of live. And you know what? I think it's a better option for this kind of a show.
I
We
think
also
so too.
we also decided that we're only going to go with one episode a week as opposed to two like we were doing. Because now we're on episode four, which means we're just about halfway through the series, and we don't want to run footage.
We don't want to burn through. And plus, this episode was so jam-packed, just so dramatic, so incredible. It's good that we just get to focus on just this one at least in my opinion.
You are absolutely right. But before we get started, I do want to let everybody know that we are an official affiliate of the WWE Shop, which is a Fanatics experience. Go to suds-media.com/wrestling merch, and that does give you the affiliate link. And anything you buy through that link, whether it's something WrestleMania based or any WWE superstar, legend, or NXT superstar, will give us a commission that helps go towards the show. Also, if you have a podcast and want an awesome webpage for your podcast, go over to podpage.com/suds as that's who we use for our website, which is suds-media.com. It is through Podpage. So go to podpage.com/suds, sign up that way, and you will help us as well. That way. Uh, so this episode, we're gonna before we even get into this, for everybody who's, you know, just a fan of entertainment in general, this past week was a very rough week for. I hate using the term celebrities because they are just regular people, and just because they're on TV or in the spotlight doesn't make them any more important than any of us. But we did lose a lot of. We lost a lot of people this weekend
Yes.
um, that are in the spotlight. Starting off on Friday with Drake Hogeston, who portrays John Black from Days of Our Lives. A day before his 71st birthday, he passed away. And I know that one hit you hard for being such a Days fan.
Yeah. I mean, I'm relatively new to Days, in the grand scheme. Just I've only been a fan for the past, really invested in the show for the past like 3, 4 years now. But I fell in love watching the old clips from
Yeah.
like from like the 80s run from and honestly like he is what such a talented just when he was even in his like because he played he was Roman for a while and then they affectionately just dubbed him Rojan because all of a sudden he became John Black and honestly the character all the different just facets of the character that he played on Days and just how beloved he was. In fact, he was a baseball player too. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
He
Didn't
was
know that he was a
drafted.
professional ball player.
He was well. He was in the minor league. He played for the
Yeah,
Cardinals and the Yankees affiliates. And he did get injured. I think it was a knee injury that
yeah.
you know took him out of the game, and then he went into acting. So I mean, it's like,
And I did have the opportunity to meet him at Day of Days in 2022, and he was lovely. I was actually, it was kind of embarrassing because I was right at, I turned around for the autograph session. I was standing in line, what I thought was a line, and I look, and there's Deidre Hall and Drake Hogeston sitting side by side at their table
yeah,
about to sign autographs. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I was totally starstruck. And walking over there, like, trying to like get in line and get a picture, I was wearing the wrong shoes at Day of Days because it was outdoors. I tripped. I almost fell flat on my face, but right in front. It was just the most, I'm like, well, this is just fantastic. This is a great first impression to be making on these two like incredible, actors, incredibly talented people. They couldn't have been nicer. They couldn't have been sweeter. He told me I reminded him of a nervous Jeopardy contestant that he'd just seen the other night on Jeopardy, which I just thought was like the most random, sweet, lovely, but oh, just a lovely, lovely gentleman. So kind, so sweet. And, I just every tribute that I've seen on Twitter, every tribute that I've seen on Facebook, from actors, from fans, from everything, everyone just says, just what a lovely, lovely human he was. And it's still, even a few days later, it's just hard to process.
Yeah. It's very sad, but it didn't stop there, unfortunately. We also,
No, it didn't, because prior Maggie Smith
yeah, we
and
lost Dame Maggie Smith. I she her filmography is huge. I know her and love her from the Harry Potter films.
Professor McGonagall,
Yeah. Um,
Downton Abbey.
yeah, I never watched Downton Abbey, but she was also in the Sister Act movies.
Hmm.
Um, she did a lot. Uh,
Yeah.
then we also had, from the sports world, we had Dikembe Mutombo,
Yes.
who passed away. We also lost country legend, music legend, Chris Christopherson.
Hmm.
His son is actually a professional wrestler in NXT, or
Oh,
was
really?
signed it for NXT at one point, I believe. And then we lost WWE Hall of Famer and Major League Baseball hits king Pete Rose.
Hmm.
And then just today we found out we lost John Amos, was it?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Was just West Wing, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, Good Times.
yeah,
The list goes on and on of things that that man has been in, and it's just just another. Oh,
just
September and October 2024. You need to cut us a break now.
yeah.
We need to come on. This is too
So
much.
we do want to just express our sincerest condolences to all the families, friends, and fans of all the people that we lost over this weekend. Well, that's only in 3 days, um, but
Yeah,
insane. But
absolutely.
I mean, moving on now to what you came for, we're getting into season 4, episode 1 of The Bay, which can be found,
Yes.
of course, on Tubi TV, Peacock, Amazon Prime, as well as Popstar. And the death doesn't stop. It,
No, no, because this episode just decides to right from the jump get just and it's just, I mean, the episode is called Deliver Us, and
yeah,
then the tag after Welcome to My Purgatory. So you're going to be in for a rough time as soon
yeah,
as like before the credits even roll. But no, we just kick right off with in the hospital. We
yeah.
have the aftermath of what we saw at the end of season 3 with Janice, and they confirm right off the bat that Riley says is calling Liana saying it was an overdose,
Mhm.
and then but also like flash to in the same moment it's like Pete's trying to grapple with this, and then all of a sudden there's breaking news showing up on the TV screen
Yeah,
regarding the
an
trial, and it's just
emotional
like,
roller
how much
coaster.
more can this man take? My
Yeah,
goodness.
but what an emotional roller coaster for Pete, because you know almost simultaneously, you know, the doctors come out. Avery's obviously there as a nurse,
Hmm.
and the doctors, he's just like, "I'm sorry, we couldn't save her. She didn't make it."
Yeah. He
Um,
goes from seeing the verdict come through for Sarah saying she's not guilty, and his like just rejoicing, and him and Riley hugging, and then
yeah.
you see the doctors and Avery walk out, and then you just know based on the look on their
Oh yeah,
faces alone, you know immediately what they're going to say, and just the level of the acting in that scene was phenomenal from
oh yeah,
everybody. I mean, it was incredible scene, but Christos in particular, my God, I mean, just like you just see him go from that emotional roller coaster you just described, his face, everything, he knows, but he can't accept it, and he's just going in denial, starts sobbing, starts, what do you mean she has to make it? You get back in there, you save her. The dialogue there, she'll wake up for me, I know
yeah.
it. Like, oh my goodness, she
Powerful.
just so powerful, so much of a gut punch.
You know,
And then
it,
Liana shows up too, and it's just like the whole scene, just the way it all caves in, and just in that devastation in that moment is just oh my goodness.
And it's something I have to. I'm hoping that I can make it down to the Samantha and Friends uh, gala next year
You absolutely should if you have
because
the
I
opportunity.
want to meet Christos. I have to give him props.
I
I've given him
lovely,
props
lovely
on,
human,
on
lovely,
Twitch,
lovely gentleman
but
who I've
it's
had the
like
chance to speak with twice now, and I have to say, just so lovely
because
man.
I'm sorry, but I have to just give a huge for this. I'm assuming, because I know that he started out his career as a model, but is the Bay like his first acting gig? I know he's like co-executive producer or whatever, but is this like his first acting gig?
I mean, just the way that he conveys so much, just facial expression, it's just so talented.
Yeah,
Honestly,
very.
it's just, it just I wouldn't, because it was so early and relatively early in his career. It could have been, one of his first kind of, but oh my goodness, no, just that the range in that scene and just the emotional roller coaster that you described,
Yeah.
just it's just way to kick off the season, way to
Okay.
just kind of set the tone right there for how things are going to be. And we have like all of this happening, and then it's just like they show Liana almost in the background, like
Yeah.
kind of walking it, like all of a sudden like she just kind of comes in, then she's just
And then she
and then
sits
she
down.
just drops to her
Yeah.
knees and collapses, and it's just all happening all at the same time. Even like the way it was shot, even the way it's just chaotic and it's
Very chaotic.
devastating, and just that the way that they shot that scene just adds to that. And oof,
Yeah.
so much going on.
And it's so sad. Yeah, it's like out of everybody in this scene and all the players that are there, the one who you have to feel most upset for is Liana.
Oh yeah.
Granted, it's her mother, and I understand that, but just the fact of how tumultuous their relationship had been,
Mm-hmm.
when they were finally getting to a good place, and then that,
Mm-hmm.
newspaper article comes out, which we'll get more into later. Uh,
Yep.
and then the way that, uh, you know, Janice just pushes her away, like, I want to be alone, please get out. And then that's when she takes the pills and,
And even when like, she says, well, like, well, if you want to die, then just, go ahead. I mean, she actually said like those words to her and everything too, which just, in the no, it's just and they say it all. They don't even need to have her like, have any dialogue. All they had to do
right,
was have her like drop to her knees just and totally collapse and just completely fall in on herself because
exactly.
that's, enough to communicate it to all of us. And we'll get into it more later, but all I can say is thank goodness she has her grandpa.
Yeah. Nardo Ramos is back in town. I mean,
Because in in the wake of losing Janice and losing that kind of family dynamic, which their mother-daughter chemistry, I mean, it was so cat, but their scenes were always like gold. They played off each other so well. And honestly, I just feel like, and I know we're going to jump to it at a later point, but when her scenes with A. Martinez, the
yeah,
two of them, just the chemistry, the grandfather, the familial, just amazing scenes. They play off each other
yeah,
so well, I think, considering it's like their first kind of scenes together. From what we haven't really seen them interact prior
right,
to this,
yeah.
and that their car scene and just the way that I love their dynamic so much, and
And
it kind of like it kind of fills the vacuum that Janice leaving has kind
yeah,
of it fills that void.
it brings in the protection angle,
Yes.
right? Because as we, I to be honest with you, I actually totally forgot that that was her grandfather because when she's coming out of the hospital. I think it was the hospital, or the way that the TMZ group was like, oh, she's getting therapy. So wherever she came from, whether
Hmm.
it was the hospital, whether it was wherever, just the way that he kind of ushered her in and said, "You're not talking. She's not saying anything." He was
Hmm.
just that level of protection. I forgot. I thought it was just a police escort or a bodyguard.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that was her grandfather, but you could just see how he just came in to protect her from,
Hmm.
the scum of TMZ and the paparazzi
Yep. Yep.
because she's an heiress for a beauty. beauty company or
Right,
you know,
right. And now they're all, he mentions how, like, yeah, because, like, Janice was so, like, a big part of the community and so many higher ups knew her. So, of course, there's going to be, people surrounding this, press surrounding this, all of this. But, his just knowing that he needs to insulate her from that. And then also, too, his having, when their discussion about, depression,
yeah,
which was just like, that added a whole other level to, like, I mean, it's one thing for him to just be the protective, doting grandfather. It's another thing for him to, like, admit that, like, there's a familial line here, hereditary thing. And, we've all been, and just, oh, that entire conversation. And I know we can come back, but I just thought that was so, what a way to bring a character into the fold, you
oh
know?
yeah, because now he's there full time. It's like
Yeah.
we saw him a little bit here and there. In the previous seasons, we saw him, testify at Sarah's
Hmm.
trial.
Hmm.
Um, but now he's there.
Yeah, just a masterful way to twine him in, though, I thought. And I thought that those scenes were so well played and so well done. And, you know, it's tough knowing that, like, Janice is, because losing that,
Yeah.
really powerful relationship between her, but knowing that this is kind of on deck, it's like, okay, we can trust the process.
No, you're exactly right. And that kind of leads us into just a masterful scene with Nathan and Zoe,
Oh my
and then
goodness. You're
Orchid
right.
coming in after.
Yep.
But I'm sorry, but in my opinion, this does fall on Nathan's shoulders. The
Oh
the
yeah.
the responsibility for this falls on Nathan.
Yeah, because he's the one who, he's claiming to be all, journalist, and this is what the people want to know, and this is, I'm here for the people of Bay City, I have these, like, subscribers, I have a responsibility to them. He's trying to claim all this journalistic integrity, but no, all you did was just, exploit, a tragedy and exploit a crime. And,
So
your article was what Janice was reading that pushed her over the edge.
there's a
So,
reason. There's a reason why they don't release the names of rape victims or
hmm.
whatever because of stuff like this.
Hmm.
And for him to publish, like, and judging from him now, I firmly believe in the saying controversy creates cash or controversy creates conversation. I get
Hmm.
that completely. And you know the one of the biggest kind of things to do is to go against the grain and to shock TV and
Oh yeah, yeah.
shock jock radio. I get
And to
I
get
get all that.
clicks and to
Yeah,
get attention and to
but
get, like, get that sort of, just like, 20 minutes of whatever, because, you've written something that's kind of like salacious and kind of,
yeah,
edgy and what have you. But no, in this case, he's, the responsibility, he's the one who hit publish on this. He's the one who, just fully exploited, this violent crime that was committed against, like, not just, I mean, because Zoe dealt with, this, you know, everything with Chase as well. And Tamara, I mean, all of, like,
yeah.
he says he has a responsibility to his, like, the people of Bay City. It's like, well, do you have a responsibility to the women of Bay City who were,
Right.
you know?
And it's like it's he Chase is in prison now. So at that point in time, the responsibility to the citizens of Bay City ended because they don't have to protect themselves from this guy or be on the lookout
Exactly.
for the guy. So his duty to the citizens were over.
Yeah.
Um, just and I like how I like the dynamic between Orchid and Zoe because they're complete opposites. And I
Yes.
like when Zoe said something to the effect of, you like spending your money on hookers or whatever, and Orchid's like, oh, I'm not a hooker, I'm a professional,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I'm not a hooker, sweet
escort.
thing.
Yeah,
I'm an Orchid fan. I'm a, well, Terry Ivins fan, therefore I'm an Orchid fan. But, I do love how, because she, like, along for the ride with Nathan, hooking up,
yeah,
all of that. But she does draw the line that I
yeah.
love here when she just says, listen, no, what you did, what you wrote about my cousin, crossed a line. You write another article following up to it, and you'll see my wrath. And she means it. It's like, you don't mess with Orchid.
And honestly, he should write an apology. That's
Yes.
what Zoe wanted. And when Orchid said, if you write something that's going to further this madness, you're going to, and we
Mm.
know that she's lethal. I mean,
Oh
we
yeah.
know that for a fact.
Yeah, no, you don't mess with her. I mean, this is the woman who like will like, be all sweet, charming,
And
cute
then
little
pull a knife
voice,
on you.
and then will pull a knife on you and, threaten to do serious damage. I mean, she
Yeah,
doesn't play. And especially I'd kind of forgotten about the fact, because I forgot Marissa Ramos is technically
yeah.
Orchid's, it's like we're forgetting
Well,
we got
now
to do
it's
that
like
family
we know
tree.
the.
We got to do
Well,
that family tree
yeah.
because we're losing, track of like the people
Well,
here.
now we know the relationship because we knew her name was Ramos. We just didn't know what
Yeah.
that relationship was.
Yep, yep. But now we know, and it's just, but I appreciated the fact that like, because I mean, Zoey comes in, and it's like we know that like, Zoey has like a perfectly legitimate, extra. She doesn't, Nathan has just been thorn in her side forever, and he has crossed the line, and everything she says is right and true and everything. But for Orchid, who's like been kind of aligned with Nathan, for her to be just like, no, this is not acceptable. It was a good kind of way to cap off that moment because
Yeah,
and her like backing up Zoey and just basically saying yeah, no, you know what, this isn't okay.
yeah. No, I thought that was awesome
Hmm.
how that happened. Um, and then we did find out that Sarah was found not guilty.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we see that Lex and Sarah are
Yeah, after our little
celebrating.
time jump, what was it, 2 months later?
Was it
Because
two
they
months?
show, I think they show like the hospital scenes, and then I think it's like cut to, I want to say it was 2 months, at least it
Oh,
was in
I
my
didn't
note.
realize that.
Yeah, no, because they jump. Yeah, after the hospital scene, they jump ahead 2 months, and then they show her kind of, which makes sense because it's like, I understand wanting to like kind of celebrate your freedom, but like, it makes sense that 2 months later is when they're finally deciding to, what, let's have a party. And it was so sweet. They show Sophia again in her little hat, and just trying to
Plays
go
such a
ahead. And
great Southern Belle.
I just, oh, Jackie Zeman.
Jackie Zeman, God rest her soul, is such a chameleon when it comes to acting. She's able to change herself into anything. Obviously, well known from General Hospital as Bobby Spencer.
Right.
Oh, she's here on the Bay as uh, Sophia. That was her last name. Um,
I'll think of it.
yeah, I
It'll
can't.
take me a second. I'll think of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it was just
Madison.
it's just always fun seeing her, and fun seeing her. It's kind of like but it was almost a callback,
Yeah,
because like from Bay the beginning when she's like swanning around, Sarah's estate
yeah,
and just trying to decorate for Brian's wedding, and now it's like she's in the same kind of mode again, decorating for
yeah,
Sarah's what they they basically describe as just her freedom party, her being able to get out, get away from all of this, and they're celebrating. And no, it was just like, it was just very, I don't know, it was sweet seeing her and Lex on the balcony in their little
yeah.
robes or whatever, just all like,
And they're
but then they,
talking because they
yeah,
found out who did it.
yeah, no, it's a pretty, intense conversation. And well, because it gets into discussing, Red's murderer is still out there. And then it
Yeah,
cuts back to, Steve, them identifying him from that photo, young Steve, compared to, and then them just figuring that out. But we have it where they establish that he's a flight risk and he had to surrender his passport. They got a restraining order against him, but he can't get locked up. They're
yeah,
worried he's going to skip the country, all of this. And
yeah,
I'm like, and then Sarah saying like, yeah, make sure his name is off everything. It's like, Sarah, you've had 2 months. Like,
yeah.
come on, get on that right away. Like,
Exactly. Any attorney will get that done for you.
yeah, that should have been handled like as soon as you walked out of the courthouse, just making sure that that man was, separated from you. But obviously, we have to have Steve in the mix still, just to kind
Yeah.
of
Well,
stir stuff up and cause trouble.
we do see Steve in the car calling in a new Adam. I don't know who this actor is that plays Adam now.
Yeah, new Adam, which is, it we
It
I
makes
guess
yeah,
we aren't going to be treated to
that duel
what's
again.
him, Chad Duell playing, playing the creep.
Yeah.
Now we have a new creep.
He
But
looks creepier, I will say that.
he does. He's got this certain sort of just, oh,
Yeah.
he looks the part for
Yeah.
sure. He looks like someone who it would make sense to be like, jumping into the passenger seat of Steve's car and then
And
trying to
Steve is
chat stuff
like
out.
hiding out. He's got his
Oh
sunglasses
yeah, he's
on and
trying
stood
to be
up.
all incognito or
Yep.
whatever, and he's hiding and he's all just, and even I mean, for new Adam being kind of creepy, he does, I feel like I'm in a mob movie.
Yeah.
He had a couple of good lines, but it's like, he's like, he counters Steve by saying like, because Steve's trying to like, welcome him into the family and all of this stuff, and you know he's like, but technically, like, you're going to get a divorce, aren't you? Like, isn't this, and he's just like, well, there's no paperwork that's been signed yet. I'm still your dad ish.
Yeah.
Like, uh,
Oh,
but
and
he's trying to like, they both talk about being black sheep too, which was just
yeah.
kind of an interesting,
Well, if they're going
true.
to, combine their powers and team up, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming into Bay City that's going to be quite devious.
What was their line? Together we could do some shit. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, they've got plans. They've got
we do.
they've got plans. It's not good.
No,
We got the two creeps with their heads together.
yeah,
So
and
yeah,
that's going to be a big
that's
thing.
going to cause a problem. And
Yeah.
also, just speaking of kind of a recasted sort of role, it
Mhm.
happened in we see him just in the Sophia scene that we had been talking about when they were like, just planning the party.
Yeah.
But RJ has been
Yeah.
officially sore-assed.
Oh, yes, he was sore ass quite a bit.
Yeah, all grown up now, handsome young man, putting cushions on chairs. But the last
Those
time
of
we
you
saw
that
him,
don't
he
know,
was a very small child.
yeah. For those of
So,
you that don't know the can't even think of it. For those of you that don't know the word SORAS, it stands for Soap Opera Rapid Aging Syndrome. That happens to children on soaps all the time.
mhm.
You know, 3 years ago, the last time we saw RJ in his crib. Now he's a teenager.
Well,
So
we did see him as the little boy at the
you're right. At
funeral.
the funeral, we did see him as a little boy.
Yeah, cute little kid. Now all of a sudden he's a big, handsome, teenage dude
Yeah.
who's putting cushions on chairs for Sophia. So yeah, his age jumped, and I'm pretty sure, more than 2 months passed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, just wanted to mention that while we were talking about just new faces on the show, because he does, come into the fold quite a bit. RJ does. But yeah, now he's all grown up.
And then probably the last scene that we really get is Pete and Vivian, and
Oh, yeah.
he's trying to console Pete because he's obviously upset. He really cared about Janice. Uh,
Yeah.
but she takes out a letter out of her lockbox, and it happens to be the suicide note that her mother left her.
Yep.
And oh my God, just the the emotions in the words and how
Hmm.
the mother just apologizes for not being strong enough,
Yep.
and she hopes that she'll see her in the future, and like just all these things. And I
So many
gotta,
layers, so many levels,
yeah,
and
but I
that
gotta tell you,
just,
that was probably the best suicide note that I've ever heard on TV. It,
yeah.
and it's morbid to think that way, and I'll be honest with everybody about that. That is very morbid to think that way, but
No, but I
lot of
I
times
agree.
something very basic, like I can't take it anymore, or what have you. It wasn't heartfelt, it wasn't genuine. It's like they almost took the words of somebody who actually did commit suicide
Yeah.
and put them, put the writers put their minds into that kind of
Between that and just even the discussion about depression in the scene with Liana
yeah,
and with her grandfather. I mean, it all twined. I mean, they just explore like just this like mental health side of
yeah,
everything, and just taking time to kind of process what's happened, showing what can happen like with people like who experience just it's just there are so many layers wrapped up in this, and it's like it takes the time after killing off an essential core character
yeah,
to explore different facets and in different ways. I mean, you've
yeah,
got
and
the
how it
depression
affects
angle, you've got the suicide angle, you've got just it unpacks it in just such a way that's just so eloquent and so well done. And just I agree with you. I mean, I wrote down like in my notes just even like the letter, just as I was hearing it, because it was just, I mean, couldn't, because I'm not enough or smart enough or good enough, but you are, just, and I hope one day you can forgive me, but remember how I've always loved you. It's not your fault. I mean, all of those things. It's just the way it all, just a beautifully acted scene,
Yep.
so well written. And, just them reading the note, not her just showing it to him, not her just
Right.
showing the
Right.
bracelet, because that could have easily, no, they decided to really just dig in and show that. And it was just, and
Because
then even, yeah.
that's Vivian just opening up. Like obviously they're married, so they should be open with each other. But it does show how, because clearly at first their marriage was just for the bond that that Peter
Hmm.
was going to get the saving bond.
Right. It was a marriage of convenience,
Yeah, it was a
essentially,
marriage and granted they cared about each other from before, so it
Right,
wasn't specifically for that. But
right.
over time, you see them grow closer, and I think this was the most vulnerable that Vivian has ever been.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Just the fact that this letter was in a lockbox that she kept, so that
Yeah.
not only prying eyes couldn't do it, but she had to specifically want to get in there to read it.
Hmm. And then for her to say, like it took her years to forgive her, but like to forgive her mother for what happened, but
Yeah,
her just keep on, her reiterating to Pete that, he can't blame himself because she doesn't want him to go through what she
right.
did.
Yeah,
And her basically saying like Janice's death, it's not your fault, it's not your fault, just basically kind of like communicating what the letter was trying to communicate to her, and
yeah,
just saying like I don't want you to take on this pain because I know what it's like and I've been there before. It just just
yeah.
such a devastatingly, in a way, like beautiful, heartbreaking, so many different words to
Yeah.
describe that scene, and it was just so well acted and so brilliant, and
It was,
yeah, so well written.
yeah. And honestly, I believe that's all that there was in the episode. I don't,
It was a lot to digest, but it was quick,
yeah,
same
as
time
always,
frame, same as always.
minute, yeah, 20-minute time frame. Just a lot of story packed in, and just being able to just convey the emotions
Hmm.
that powerful of a way from the
And
beginning to the end.
and it's like it's because it's like I appreciated the fact that, they took the time in this episode, like I said, because like, you kill off a major character, right?
Yeah,
And you're gonna have like, ripple effect and aftermath from that. But I've never seen a show dig that much into like, like just the way that like, the just the mental health aspect, the grieving aspect, the,
yeah,
just it hit on every kind of note after it took the time to like process what happened in the previous. It wasn't like they just glossed over it. It wasn't
right.
like they just did a time jump and then said, oh yeah, we're moving on now, she's not part of the show anymore. It's like, no, we're going to show just how all of this
How it
landed in
affects
this.
everybody. Yeah,
Exactly, which is just a testament to the good writing of the show, because it's like they could just so easily have been like, oh well, the actress was like, she's part of the show now, she's done, and
yeah,
we're just gonna
fun.
gloss over
Yeah.
it and move on and
Well,
bring in all these new folks.
that's just it. They kind of made the death, the suicide, a plot point, in the story, to the point where it drove the story for the entire episode. Now, granted,
Hmm.
the Sarah and Lex scenes and the Steve and Adam scenes weren't necessarily part of that, but it did. That suicide drove basically the entire show,
Yeah.
because the Zoe Nathan interaction was because of Janice. Liana and her grandfather was because of Janice.
Yep.
Vivian was because of Janice. So
Even Sophia says, she mentions Janice too, just briefly, but
yeah,
it's like it carried over. It wasn't as if it was just like, oh, big,
right.
surprising death at the end of a season, and now we're just going to jump into season four with, it's like, no, we're going to actually kind of show how this landed, show the effects, talk about like just get very real and get very like, grounded with like exactly, everything that these characters could have been experiencing in
Yeah,
the
and
in
I
the
think that's
aftermath.
one of the pros, one of the best things about Gregory Martin go bringing the Bay directly to streamers. They
Hmm.
don't have a network above them that, like, for example,
Exactly.
if GH wanted to run an episode like this about about suicide and how it affects everybody, I can almost guarantee you ABC wouldn't go for it.
And even if they did, it wouldn't be like to the caliber of something like
Right.
this where they could just dedicate the time to it and really explore it and really flesh it out.
And
It would
almost,
have been more
yeah,
just like, I feel like back in the day, maybe they could
Yeah,
have, when soaps were a little bit more, like, daytime and funding prime time, that whole aspect when it was just like when soaps were king. I
yeah,
feel like they probably could have pushed for in this day and age. I don't think so. I
yeah,
think that, with streamers, you definitely have a lot more latitude with that. So,
exactly right. But we are just about out of time. We went over and went over everything about season four, episode one. Remember, folks, we're only doing one episode a day. So next week we'll be back with season four, episode two. But
yep.
before then, I do want to let everybody know as a quick programming note, Suds News is moving to now every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We did 8 p.m. last night as we're recording this, and much better chat interaction, much better, live watching and just feedback in general. It's earlier on the East Coast for those of you that are watching, from the East Coast, and it's just one of those things where um, we took the opinions of the viewers, the fans, the listeners, and now Suds News will be every Monday right on this YouTube channel live at 8 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. Eastern time. Um, so just keep that in the back of your mind, because that's what's going to be going forward. And Dockside at the Bay, Take Me Down to Studio City, and Sports Entertainment Center will all be released on Patreon the day before they get released to YouTube and the podcasts. So if you're not a patron yet, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, come on. Jump on that.
Patreon.com
You
slash
can catch up with us
circle.
like, same day, versus
Yes,
having to wait it out. So if you want to hear our commentary, you want to hear us chat about the Bay,
yes, exactly.
get on the stick.
Exactly. And like I said, um we're always making our content and our offerings a lot bigger. We're always expanding. Like I said, now we do have Suds News. We do have Dockside at the Bay. We do have Take Me Down to Studio City. We have Sports Entertainment Center. Those are all weekly shows. And then we have Angela Answers Fan Mail, which is going to be a monthly show that has gotten a lot of good buzz on YouTube. So that's going to be a monthly show going forward. And we're looking at something big for November, but I'm going to keep all you guys in the dark until we figure everything out and dot the I's and cross the T's and get everything together. But either way, we are always expanding, and we do have an upcoming partnership with Chairshot Sports Media. So we're going to be doing a lot with them as well as on our page. So stay tuned for a lot of stuff coming at you from Suds and Square Circle Media. But Kim, any final thoughts on episode one? Season four?
No, just heavy episode,
Yes.
amazing episode, so well done. Looking forward to because it's you're kind of experiencing in real time right now. I know that you said you kind of
Yeah.
gotten caught up, so even for me, I'd forgotten some details about this episode and just how well done and brilliant and sad and devastating and gut-wrenching it was. So
Yeah.
going in and just being able to dive in and focus on one per week, I feel like is going to be, we can
Oh
kind of
yeah.
dig in a little bit more, which I
Yeah.
like. So good
All right,
stuff.
folks. Well, thank you for tuning in. Go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to our page, hit the like button for this video, and hit that notification bell. That means that anytime something gets posted to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/at suds-media, anytime something gets posted, whether it's a short, whether it's a pre-recorded video, whether it's something live, you will get notified. But anyways, we're about out of time. We'll be back next week with another episode. And for right now, for Kim, I'm Vinny. We'll see you next week, Dockside at the Bay.
Take care, everyone.
Have a great night, everybody.